perfect reflection of God. In this perfection that is the truth within, that perfection is waiting to be recognized, waiting to be embraced, waiting to be acknowledged. But in truth, no one can serve two masters. So the choice is always being made. Do I choose the perfection of God, or do I choose what I know, what I expect? With expectations, there is a formula that is already mapped. The formula is of the ego. That entire intention of the ego is to affirm to you that you are separate and imperfect, and without. And the mind of the ego, the habits of the past, will keep affirming those elements. You're alone, you're without, you're imperfect. And secretly, the ego will also, with a deep attachment to vengeance, the ego thoughts, the ego mind will keep affirming that you might as well continue being an ego mind, because the belief is that you've held so many sinful things that there's no recourse but to continue. This is like a child that believes that if they steal a penny, their world is over. Their possibility of redemption is not possible anymore. And the ego supplies all that's needed to stay in the belief of separation and to see others as enemies. It supplies what is needed for that. It supplies rules, and it supplies expectations and arrogance and fear. And it makes a system that feels so familiar that you can't imagine anything else. And yet God calls, whispers, redirects to love, to truth, to the teachings of truth. And forgiveness is held so openly and consistently that it's there all the time, and yet very seldom used. It's very seldom used. The masochism of the ego says, in some upside down way, I don't want forgiveness. Because with forgiveness, I have to join. And I don't really want to join. I want to stay cautious. I want to stay on top of things. And even the depression of separation is more acceptable than taking that leap of faith of opening the heart and becoming undefended. Yet love is always waiting for every beloved to let go of the belief of separation, the belief of protection, the belief of suspicions and expectations. Love keeps calling. Let it go. And come and visit in the circle of love. The circle of love is always available. Who's in that circle? Everyone is actually in the circle. Everything that lives as God's creation is in that circle. But it's a place of leaning. It's a place of exposing. And the ego doesn't want anything to do with it. There's even a strange phenomena that there's a practice, an ego spiritual practice that says, stand outside and wish you were inside, but don't go in, even though the door is not even locked. It's the game that the ego plays of dangling a carrot, but really saying, you're not really going through that door. You're just going to say, I wish I could, or someday I will. But the Holy Spirit, the truth of God, is calling right now, and will continue to call you, will continue to invite to walk through the door. It is why in the spiritual journey there is such a strong calling to examine the motives behind the decisions that are made with the mind. What is it for? And this gift is given, what is it for? It's given to allow each beloved to return to center, to recognize that they've gone off track into a fantasy of the past, into a defense system, into a lie. And it allows to recognize, what is this for? So that you can return to center again and again with forgiveness. What is the forgiveness really for? Forgiveness answers to the lies of the ego that play a game of shame, guilt, suspicion, but mostly shame and guilt. It's one of the favorite defense systems that the ego likes to use. It works so well. Humanity easily stays in shame and guilt. It's a comfortable place. But the comfort of it is misunderstood. The comfort seems to be, I know this place, and so I join with others who are in this place, and I feel a kinship to being outside love. But not realizing that the shame and the guilt are an attack on the self, on the truth, on that exquisite, holy relationship with God. The shame and the guilt says, I have a right to be in control. I have to control all of these elements in order to be safe or in charge. None of this is helpful. None of this is true. None of this serves. It's all a game that's been played. And anyone and everyone at any moment can change direction. Any moment. And why wouldn't you step into that? It's fear of love. The fear of love that isn't known. It's easy to use the word love because the word love is used in the world all the time. It doesn't equate with any love in the world, but it equates with an idea. But love is calling to every beloved, and yet there is a fear of that love because it's unknown. But if in this moment all resistance was gone, all ideas of the past just disappeared, and you could embrace love in this moment, then look at what stops that movement. Look and see what comes up as a defense. That you could just be, as so many divine poets have said, split open. Just open to love and be enveloped in that love. And what stops that? Fear. It's the only thing that stops anything, is fear. And it's so essential to recognize the fear that is used as a block to what you truly want. Moment to moment. It's a umbrella over the spiritual journey, but it's also a moment to moment choosing. Am I here to love? Are the words that I want to offer words of love? Are my thoughts thoughts of love? Thoughts of gentleness, kindness, compassion? Moment to moment. Love will never stop being offered until every beloved has accepted that love. So you can go around the merry-go-round and not join, and keep going around the merry-go-round of pain and suffering. But every time that it comes around, you have that choice again to choose love, choose God, and allow that only love exists for everyone. And love is all that there is. And that every beloved that you see is the truth of love. No exceptions. If they're not aware of it, and so many aren't, and that becomes the gift of offering. To hold love and truth for every beloved. And looking past any behaviors, any actions, any thing being held. Just holding love. These teachings they're very simple. But is it recognized how deeply you're taken to hold the truth of love of a beloved? How much healing actually occurs within when you take that leap and hold another beloved as the light of God. When you are willing to hold that quietly, your own healing is occurring. That love is yours and it's you. And you transform not just into love, but into wisdom, into knowledge, into connection, into oneness. And with each beloved, it just pulls closer and closer and closer to the divine. Only love. In this moment, every beloved is the light of God. In every moment. Ask the question within, do I want to accept the perfection of each beloved and rest in that reality? Without the wanting of that, there won't be any entering, because you make all decisions with the light of God or with the elements of the ego. There's a beautiful teaching that says you are never without an attachment to either the ego or God. You're always making decisions with one or the other, because there's no way to make a decision without one or the other. So that can become the question too. Who am I making decisions with? What am I making decisions with? And allowing that you want to make the decisions of love, moment to moment. And in this moment, affirming that the sanctuary is filled with love. Nothing else can exist here. This universe is all love. Nothing else is real. Nothing else has any truth. And that you are the child of God, the innocence, the perfection that has been asleep for lifetime after lifetime, and now coming to awakening into truth. I said to a beloved yesterday, it isn't so much that urge to awaken, it's the urge to come home that is the longing within, to come home, to rest in God, to give up the battle, and to rest in the light of love. We are called to rest. Oh, my Father, give me strength, give me courage on this road, to be a child of yours on earth and tread the path the Masters showed. Oh, my Mother, help me love, give me comfort to be aware, to obey these sacred teachings. It was your Son who showed the way. Oh, my Master, your compassion can see through this pain, for it was you who came to earth to release us from these chains. Oh, my Father, I am yours. Give me comfort to be aware. Send your angels here to guide me on this sacred path of the sun. Oh, my Father and my Mother, who rule the world of love, send your angels to receive me through the gateway of your love. Oh, my Mother, help me love. Give me comfort to be aware. It takes great comfort, and it is where comfort exists, that comfort only comes from truth. It comes from reality, and it is not available through the ego identity. There may be an element that is called comfort that may come, the comfort of being right, the comfort of thinking I know, can feel like comfort, but it fades extremely quickly and is replaced with justification and protection. But the true comfort comes from truth, from love. Give me comfort to be aware. To be aware. That is that state that takes you somewhat out of the trance and opens the doorway to, because you want awareness. So you're in between. You're not completely asleep. You're in a conscious, more conscious state that can be aware of truth and can want truth and commune with truth. and to be aware of what you're latching on to or paying attention to or believing in, and really praying for that awareness so that the decision of love can be made constantly. Send your angels here to guide me. There's nothing more powerful than a prayer of, I want your help. I want your guidance. I want the truth. I want you to show me how to walk in this world. An opening to that calling. This is what I want. I've cried a lot and have regretted the past, but now I'm going to leave everything that was a part of a yearning for illusion, and I'm going to go and live among the flowers. I'm going to live among the flowers with my Blessed Mother. And all the fears that have appeared have been a great rebellion against God. All the fears have been used to stay in separation, but they are not in any way helpful for remembering. Let's all, beloveds, sing with love, with God and the Blessed Mother, as all of these fears can be dispelled. I'm the child of the Blessed Mother, and I am saying yes to this power. I call the force to come and open my heart. It's all that I want. It's what I live for, to remember. Choro muito e lamento tudo que já se passou. Desde todos somente vou viver o mel das flores. Vou viver no meio das flores, junto com a Virgem Maria. Os terrores que aparecem, essa grande rebeldia. Vamos todos, meus irmãos, vamos cantar com amor, para Deus e a Virgem Mãe nos defender desses terrores. Sou filho da Virgem Mãe, reconhece este poder. Chama a força, Deus chama a força, para vir nos defender. Come and open my heart. I call the force of love. I call the force of truth. And I surrender my mind. I surrender my heart. I surrender this day. I surrender everything. Just show the way. Someone untied your camel. I cannot sit still with humanity in chains. I cannot act mute, hearing the world's loneliness crying near the beloved's heart. My love for God is such that I could dance with him tonight without you, but I would rather have you there. Is your caravan lost? It is if you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object. My dear, is your caravan lost? It is if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with the sometimes difficult task of loving you. At least come to know that someone untied your camel last night, for I hear its gentle voice calling for God in the desert. At least come to know that Hafiz will always hold a lantern with galaxies blooming inside, and that I will always guide your soul to the divine warmth and exhilaration of our beloved's tent. Can you sit still with humanity in chains? Can you be at peace with humanity in chains? Every moment is that beautiful place of offering love. And every beloved that walks the journey will be raised up with the masters that you cannot sit still with humanity in chains. To not be able to sit still with humanity in chains is just to realize how much power you have in your mind and your heart to transform humanity through your intention, through your holding of all beloveds as the Christ light. My love for God is such that I could dance with him tonight without you, but I would rather have you there. Is your caravan lost? The most precious element, if you can even distinguish it from another element of love, but it's so precious that no one in love wants to dance with God without you. That's why the invitation is always come and join, come and join, come and join. Because the generosity of love says, there is so much love here. There is so much peace and harmony and joy. I want every beloved to taste it, drink it, swim in it, be it. So there's no dancing with God without the wanting that everyone share in that dancing. What the ego has, on the other hand, is as much stinginess as possible, as much of an element of scarcity and control and ownership as possible. This is mine. I made it here first, and it's all mine. This is insanity. But that's what the ego's intention is to convince every beloved that there is not enough. I saw myself at one point in the spiritual journey, and I know it was the Holy Spirit that was showing me. And what I was believing was that I had to beat everyone to the finish line, that I had to climb over the backs of others, to crawl past them to get to the center with God. Believing in scarcity does that, especially when you don't know that you believe in scarcity. There is nothing ever generous in the ego structure. There is no generosity. But the ego does strange things. It pretends to be generous. It pretends that there is generosity, and what it does with it is it uses it to get what's wanted. And it's made to look like generosity. But it's actually, I'm going to use these other relationships in order to get what I want. And that is a place of pain. That is a place that the Master brought to the light by affirming, I have cried a lot, and I have had so much regret in the past. I've lamented and been in the belief of guilt. And where does that come from? It comes from trying to climb over the backs of beloveds to get to God first. Because of course there's no love there. And it's there in the fake generosity that the ego uses in order to get what it wants. But all love calls to the deeper place, to realize that there is no lack of love, that there is nothing that you will get a portion of. When you open to love, the love is so powerful because it's all of God, and it just swamps you. It's like being put into a river that's overflowing, and it's all yours. There is no shortage. There's no limit. It's the abundance of love. And this is why when you open to love and you open to the true generosity, the true offering of love, what you surprisingly find even before awakening is that when you start really offering that generosity of love, it is such a surprise because it keeps developing more. The more you give, the more you have. How is that possible? It goes against every law on this earth plane. Every rule that has been made up in the mind of separation says, I have to be very careful with what I offer, and I have to be very careful that I don't lose what I have. But the only way to keep love is to offer love. There's no keeping it on your own. There's no special place for hoarders. There's no special place for pretense. There's no special place for trying to gather while nobody is noticing. It's all in the light. It's all in your trust, in your faith, that the more that you offer love, the more you receive. Giving and receiving are the same. And the only way to receive love, to be embraced in love, is to offer love. But the caveat is gone. The game of the ego is not there, because the game of the ego says, oh, to give and to offer are the same. Give and receive are the same. Okay, I'm going to give so that I receive. And that doesn't work either. It has to be given freely without trying to control that you will receive. Immediately when you believe that you can control that, or that you're going to give so that you can receive, the flow stops, because it's not authentic, it's not love. It's a game that the ego's playing. Is it so difficult to offer love without conditions? It is at the beginning, because everything that you have made in the ego identity has said, love does not exist, and I'm going to make up my own idea of what it is, and I'm going to make it for me. I'm going to make up for my past, and I'm going to get. But there is no beloved who sits in that place that isn't miserable, because there's no love. And it affirms that there is no love. But love keeps calling and inviting every beloved to forgiveness, and to open to generosity, to honesty, to the truth, and offer love without conditions. Is your caravan lost? It is, if you no longer weep with gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object. That you have the capacity within, that as this love is being offered without conditions, you're also seeing the beauty and the perfection of everything and everyone, because you're going past the form. Because when your heart is opening and you're able to offer love without conditions, your senses are now belonging more and more to God, and you begin to see with the senses and hear with the senses the deeper truth of love. And you become cut deep from the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object. There's a beautiful poem by Hafiz that speaks to this again, of not being able to stand how much beauty there is. I don't want to touch anything in this world without seeing it as the truth of God. I don't want to see anything anymore that isn't coming through as the awareness that this is the truth of God. That's the beauty. If you no longer weep from gratitude, what is it to weep with gratitude? It's the recognition of where love is coming from, and that you are part of that love, that you are the wholeness of that love, that even the mere idea of it, that you are so loved, and that you are the complete creation of God, to be with that truth, and to let the tears flow of happiness and gratitude for that truth. That you have spent 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes, 10,000 lifetimes, it doesn't matter at all how many. But in all those lifetimes, all that was missing was your awareness that you were the light of God. And now you have You have you have it. You have the teachings, you have the truth, you have the way, and let it bring you to weeping. Let it touch your heart so deeply that you can't help but cry, because you've longed for this forever, it seems. And now you have the opportunity, the moment, everything is here for you to remember. I never have to live the nightmare again. When you have lived in hell, or a perception of hell, it is so sweet. The sweetness is so powerful because all of your dreams are coming true. You dreamt, maybe I dreamt of freedom. I dreamt of peace. I dreamt of happiness. I dreamt of it. I never had it. And here it is. And you never have to live that life again. How could you not be so happy to not live that again? That everything that you thought was real of the past was a lie. It was made up. The only thing that stands in the way of that appreciation is if you've made another illusion out of the past, where you've made an illusion out of the past that is a fantasy that you like, that says, you know everything, you're the top dog, you're right all the time, your rules are right, and you get to use relationships as you want to use them, and that looks like something worthwhile. But it's this illusion that's been built to make up for another illusion, but because of the limitation of the mind of the ego, it can't even make a good illusion. It really can't make a good one. It can make a silly one of, I'm going to stay in charge of my mind and I know what relationships are for, but it's all just compromise and littleness. And all of love is waiting for you. All of love is yours because it's what you are. And you are one with creation. And you will open to the power that is God's light and wisdom and enter into perfect peace and never be worried again. Never even be right again. The most amazing thing is not ever wanting to be right again, because it doesn't mean anything. Is your caravan lost? My dear, is your caravan lost? It is if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with the sometimes difficult task of loving you, but no longer kind to yourself. What is kindness to yourself in the world of the ego? It's a farce. It's a game. It always comes from a place of resentment and anger that says, I deserve better. I deserve to get something. That's the ego's way. The ego's way says, I'll be kind to myself by giving me something that the ego really wants. But being kind to yourself in love is recognizing that you are the light of God. It's the acceptance that you are the light of God. That's the kindness. And to recognize that you're one with every beloved and that no one has done anything and only love is real. That is the kindness. What could be more kind? It's an ultimate kindness to realize that you don't have to live in hell again. It's an ultimate kindness to realize that there is no death and that you're not this body that ages or will fall away, but that you will live as the heart and in the heart of God for all eternity with the power of God, and that it is your power because you are the reflection of God. But most of all, that you are embracing joy and harmony and peace because it's natural. And that when you embrace harmony and joy and peace, you're not taking it from anybody else. You're not stealing anything. It's freely given because it's all that there is. And God gives it freely. Absolutely freely. If you're willing to live in that peace and joy. At least come to know that someone untied your camel last night, for I hear its gentle voice calling for God in the desert. Is the camel calling to God in the desert as an extension of you? Is the camel calling you to the desert to call with him to God? Are you calling to God as the camel is in the desert? Calling to God is the most loving, kindest thing that you can do for your true self. God, show me, lead me. I'm willing to see whatever it is that I've put in the way. I take complete responsibility for the beliefs that I've carried, not because I need to be punished, but because I need to recognize what I've believed in so that I can surrender it to you and be free. That I don't want any more of the past running, dictating, threatening, and being in admiration of the ego strategies. It's hard to believe sometimes that we can be in admiration of the ego strategies, but the ego strategy is such that it's really easy to say, gosh, I did that. That was pretty darn good, and forget completely about God. It is the most delicious place to no longer get high out of doing. To get high out of doing something that is taken by the ego and saying, I did this. And believing that your worth is going to come from there, when it just can't. And it is most delicious to realize that everything of grace and love is coming through the divine power of the universe to you. That you are a direct recipient of the power of God, and that the power of God is meant to work through you. How powerful that divine relationship is, and how beautifully you are offered preparation for that relationship of love, to be the instrument of God. That's all that's asked, is to allow to be the instrument of God. And yet, in that calling to be the instrument of God, fear comes up. Oh, I don't want to be the instrument of God. I've spent all of this time trying to get in charge. I can't be in charge if I'm the instrument of God. And where's my payoff? But love is what created you, and love is what you are. And there will not be any happiness until you embrace as deeply as possible every day the blessings of God that affirm that you are the light of God forever. Can't be anything else. And that's where your happiness is, completely. In the stillness, all things quietly fall into place. In love, all conflicts are resolved. Can this be accepted? In love, all conflicts are resolved. When you surrender whatever it is into the hands of God, it will be resolved. When you empty your mind, allow your heart to surrender whatever the seeming conflict is, and to want it resolved, to want the truth, whatever it is. There's nothing more painful than being at a place of prayer that has an intention of getting. So the prayer becomes, God, I want this job. I want this job. I am asking you to make me have this job. That place slows down everything of your journey of love, because you have decided what it is that you need, and it may have been that what God wanted for you was so much more in the depths of love and in the depths of truth. But it may answer that call because it's all that you're focused with. And God cannot change your mind. We have to change our minds. We have to open to that truth. The heart is quiet and the mind is at rest, and it will not interface with the truth of love. The truth of love will show you the way constantly, constantly, constantly. Surrendering, always surrendering. Let me not be your critic, Lord, and judge against you. Now, this is a universal prayer. And in this universal prayer, it says, we've all been in this place. Let me not be your critic, Lord, and judge against you. With anything. I have no judgments. I cannot judge because I don't know anything. Let me not distort your creation into a sickly form. Again, no distortions, just thy will be done. Show me the way. I ask you to bless my sight today. Today I choose to see a world I have forgiven, in which I see the light of the Christ in everyone. I ask for nothing but the truth. Today I will not engage in dreams of the ego. Today I give everything to you. If you begin the day with this intention, and then you find yourself up against some roadblock or what seems to be a roadblock, that's really when the prayer becomes powerful. When you see a roadblock and you ask, please, God, bless my sight. Let me see this differently. Let me recognize that I've believed in roadblocks, but I'm not willing to believe in them anymore. You decide what is most helpful for me, and I will follow. I want to listen. I want to be led. Show me the way. You are always either a puppet of the ego mind or the vessel of God's truth. In this teaching, you're always a puppet of the ego mind or the vessel of God's truth. It makes it more stark because those are the two choices. And to recognize there's no other choice. These are the only two choices that we have. Either to be the slave of and the puppet of the ego mind or the vessel of God's truth. You may think that there's a third way. The ego would like you to think that there's a third way where you're just making decisions and it's you. But there's never any decisions or any thoughts that don't either come from the ego mind or God's truth. Those are the only two places that they come from. And one is love and one is not your friend. The ego mind just is in pain and in fear. But the ego mind also has a game plan of the belief that I can do the same thing again and again and expect a different result. That I can go around the next corner and things will be different, but they're not. They always end up the same. So that's the calling for love is so powerful because once you have that recognition, oh, I just keep repeating the same things. I want to choose again. I want to choose and be the vessel of God's truth. And there's no entrance exam for this. There's no test that's being given to you so to see if you qualify. You qualify with your intention. You qualify in your yes. You have to just have the willingness, and in that willingness, everything can transform. Truly. If you are asking guidance which looks like logic, measuring, advantage, outcome, reasoning, all of the ego, all of it is ego, and it will always be painful. This is why I say to beloveds often, when you have guidance, allow the guidance to just show you the way, and then have no opinion about it. What happens usually is that with guidance, there is a fear that comes up of just going with the guidance of love. And the ego comes back and says, well, yes, but I have to do it this way because, or it's important that I do this because, and give it meaning. And at its purest place, it has no meaning except the meaning that God would give it. It's just a place of trust that you can follow and that you are in the hands of God, and that the guidance will always lead you to what's most helpful. It may not seem most helpful to the ego mind that has an idea of what is right and wrong, but the Holy Spirit, God, will always take you to what is most helpful for your journey of love, to help you learn, to help you see the deeper truth of yourself. You are always either a puppet of the ego mind or the vessel of God's truth and love. If you have a verdict of guilt on another, you always condemn yourself. It is the end of peace and the denial of learning truth. It is our number one element in the world, is opinions. You walk in a room and the mind is like a computer of opinions. This is why it would be so helpful to be able to have amnesia. Imagine if you had amnesia and you didn't know anything, and everything could automatically be in the hands of God. And your mind was empty. This is held as something terribly wrong, to have amnesia. But spiritually, it could open so much, because you wouldn't have your identity to battle with. You could go straight to the divine and not bring anything with you. And that is basically what is occurring in the spiritual healing, is that all of the concepts of your identity self are falling away. Don't be afraid of them falling away. They were never you. They were never the truth. To make a better ego is very tempting. But in the wisdom of God, sometimes God keeps you in a particular place so that there isn't the temptation of making a new, improved ego instead of going straight to the truth. And to give everything in the name of God. Everything. Lord, Lord, let me not be your critic, Lord, and judge against you. Every time there is a criticism of anything, it's the criticism of God. And nobody wants that criticism to be extended to God. There was a song that said, I ask God to come and be my best friend. I ask God to come and be with me till the end. My best friend. The best friend is still, kind of held in a limitation, but imagine that God is the source of everything. God's love brings everything that is real. And to live in that nourishment, to live in that truth, and to realize that there's nothing for you to do except love. Just love. Accept. Embrace. And offer that love. And the more that you offer that love, the more love that you recognize is even available. It's boundless, endless, and it's all yours. Not because you have been a success in this world, not because you have a high enough intelligence, not because you've figured out anything, but just the yes to love is all that opens the door, and it's all yours. All yours. Look past everything about everyone. Just look past it. When you look at a flower, meet the divine of that flower. When you look at a weed, meet the divine within the weed. It's not the form of it. It's beyond the form, but there is the light of God right there. Do you and can you meet the divine within every being, every cat, every dog, every horse, every bird, and see only the divine? See the light of God right there and join with it. Join in the heart with it. Allow. Meet God in everything and everyone. And the more you meet everyone as the light of God, the Christ light, the more that light glows within you, because you're priming the pump of God's creation coming through you and extending itself. Let me not be your critic, Lord, or judge against you. I want to love. Teach me to love. It's all that is asked for and all that is true. Join in this love. It's yours. It's you. It's offered to you without exception. Only love.